My name is Evelyn Carter. I grew up in Ohio, a quiet town, a brick house, porch swings, Sunday dinners, and neighbors who waved. Life was not fancy, but it was steady. My parents worked hard. My brother Daniel Carter followed me everywhere, and I raised him like a son. When Mom passed, Evelyn, was 20. When Dad followed, I was 30. Suddenly, I was the anchor. I made sure Daniel studied. I packed his lunches. I clapped at graduations. I paid his rent. He was my little brother. Years turned into decades. Daniel and I built a company, real estate logistics and farmland in Kansas. Investments stacked high. Evelyn handled payroll. Daniel charmed the board. I stayed late. He worked the crowd. It felt balanced. When my husband died, I thought I would crumble. But Daniel said, "You'll never be alone." And I believed him. Holidays were always at my place. Turkey in November, eggnog in December, fireworks every 4th of July. My brother always showed up. Family photos filled the walls. Daniel's smile beside mine. 2 siblings. One bond. Unshakable, or so I thought. The first few months felt almost normal. We attended board meetings, signed paperwork, and met investors together. Our last name still carried weight. People trusted us. It felt like the family legacy was safe in our hands. But slowly, small cracks appeared. Papers disappeared from my desk. Financial reports came late. His signature showed up on contracts I had never seen. At first, I told myself it was nothing. A busy office, too many moving parts. Mistakes happen. But my gut kept whispering otherwise. One afternoon in January, I arrived at headquarters on Main Street. A cold wind rattled the glass doors. The receptionist avoided my eyes. On my desk, a stack of files I had not requested. "Where did these come from?" I asked. She hesitated. "Your brother said you approved." I opened the top file. A land deal worth $30 million. My name typed at the bottom, my initials forged. My hand began to shake. I called him. "Why is my signature on this?" His voice came smooth, almost bored. "You must have forgotten, sis. You signed it last week." "No, I didn't." Silence. Then a laugh, low and sharp. "Well, maybe you're too tired to remember. That happens with age." The words stung. I hung up quickly, my chest heavy. I stared at the papers. For the first time, I felt afraid. At dinner that night, I pushed my food around. The steak grew cold, the potatoes untouched. I remembered Mom's voice. "Trust your instincts, baby." My brother was slipping away, and I could not ignore the signs anymore. In February, another red flag. I drove 3 miles to our downtown office. The security guard would not let me in. "Ma'am, your badge is inactive." My mouth went dry. "I'm the owner." He shrugged. Orders from upstairs. Upstairs. My brother's new office on the 22nd floor, larger than mine. Glass walls, leather chairs, a private bar. When I finally confronted him, he smiled coldly. "It's not personal, sis. The company needs fresh leadership. Investors prefer me." I clenched my fists. "I'm still your partner. This company is ours." He leaned back, hands folded. "You sure about that?" A chill ran through me. That night I drove home on the empty freeway. Rain hammered the windshield. Streetlights blurred. I pulled over, tears burning my face. How had we come here, 2 kids in Ohio sharing peanut butter sandwiches running through cornfields, now standing on opposite sides of billions? By March, the betrayal spread further. My phone calls went unanswered. My emails bounced back. Staff avoided me. Whispers followed when I walked the halls. One morning, my lawyer friend called. "Have you seen this filing?" He sent a PDF. My brother had submitted a petition to court, claiming I was unfit to manage assets. My hands trembled as I scrolled. Cognitive decline, erratic behavior, inability to recall agreements, lies printed in black ink, filed in my county courthouse. That night, I sat alone in my kitchen. The clock ticked loud, the refrigerator hummed, and my heart felt like it might stop. I walked to the porch wrapped in my shawl. The spring air was sharp. In the distance, I heard train whistles. So familiar, so far away. I whispered, "Mom, Dad, what should I do?" No answer, came only the wind through the bare trees. But deep inside, I knew this was only the beginning. April arrived with gray skies, the kind that made the Ohio River look colder. darker, almost endless. By then, my brother's petition was already scheduled for court. He wanted me declared incompetent. He wanted my name erased from everything Dad had built. But that was not enough. He wanted me gone permanently. One Friday evening, he called my cell. His voice was warm, almost playful. "Let's take a drive, sis. Clear our heads. Talk things out." I hesitated, but part of me still wanted to believe. Still wanted the boy who used to chase fireflies to be in there somewhere. I agreed. We met at the dock near the riverfront. A small motorboat was tied to the pier. The sun was setting, casting gold on the water. He helped me step in. His smile looked gentle, but his eyes, I swear they flickered. Cold, calculating. We drifted out about a half-mile. The water slapped the hull. He poured drinks, handed me a glass. I set it aside. The night grew quiet. Then he leaned close. "You know it would be easier if you just stepped down. Hand me your shares and retire peacefully." I shook my head. "This company is ours. Dad wanted it shared. I will not walk away." His jaw tightened. For a moment, I saw the mask slip. Then he forced a laugh. "You always were stubborn." Suddenly, he stood behind me. His hand pressed against my back. Hard, too hard. Cold water swallowed me. The shock stole my breath. I kicked arms, flailing the river, dragging me down. Above the boat engine roared. I saw his silhouette standing tall, watching me sink. I fought upward, lungs burning, my dress heavy, dragging like chains. I broke the surface, gasping. "Help," I cried, but the motorboat sped away, its red taillight fading into the dark. For a moment, I almost gave up. The river was strong. My body was weak, but something in me refused to die. I thought of Mom's hands calloused from laundry. I thought of Dad's voice steady in church pews. I thought of every dollar they had scraped together so we could have more. I would not let him throw it all away. A light appeared. A small fishing boat cut across the current. A man shouted, "Hold on, ma'am." 2 strong arms pulled me aboard. I collapsed on the deck, coughing river water. The man knelt beside me. "Name's Henry. This here is my son." Lord, what happened? I could barely speak. My brother. He tried to kill me. Henry's face darkened. He wrapped me in a blanket that smelled of diesel and salt. "You're safe here. But you gotta decide if the sheriff hears this." I shook my head. "No, not yet. If he knows I survived, he will try again." Henry studied me, eyes sharp as glass. Finally, he nodded. "Then you stay hidden. We saw driftwood, nothing else." "Understand." I whispered, "Thank you." That night, he took me to his farmhouse 3 miles outside town. A creaky porch, a warm stove, a simple guest bed. His wife made soup. She said nothing, just patted my hand. For the first time in weeks, I felt safe. But safety was not victory. My brother thought I was gone. The board believed his lies. The papers would call it an accident. And I, soaking in borrowed clothes, promised myself one thing. I would not stay silent. Not this time. I would return. I would fight. I would take back what was ours. The river had spared me. Now I had a second chance. And my brother would never see it coming. The news broke 2 days later. Local businesswoman lost in tragic river accident. My photo filled the screen, a silver casket, a grieving brother. I watched it all from Henry's couch, wrapped in a borrowed blanket, hands trembling, heart pounding. My brother stood in front of cameras. His voice cracked with fake sorrow. She was slipping lately. Her mind wasn't the same. We begged her to rest. This accident proves it. I wanted to scream. I wanted the world to know the truth. But if I spoke now, he would try again. And next time, he might succeed. I stayed hidden. But the world kept moving. Obituaries filled the papers. Condolences flooded online. My so-called friends shared memories of me. Not one questioned the story. Worse, the board of directors met without me. By unanimous vote, they gave my brother full control. $2.7 billion in his hands. I saw the photos. He smiled at the podium. Flashbulbs lit his face. Investors shook his hand. They called him a hero for carrying on. I was erased, not just from the company, from life itself. In town, people whispered about me. She was fragile. She couldn't keep up. Some said I had dementia. Others said I was addicted to pills. All lies, all planted by him. One morning, Henry drove me into the city. We parked 3 blocks from headquarters. I pulled a hood low over my face. Through the glass doors, I saw my office. My name was gone. The plaque replaced. My brother's title in gold. Employees passed by laughing, chatting, not one glance toward the woman they believed was dead. I pressed my hand to the glass. Tears blurred the letters. It felt like watching my own funeral with my eyes open. Later, we stopped for groceries at a market. The clerk scanned milk bread and apples. On the counter, a newspaper headline. Brother takes reins after sister's tragic death. My knees buckled. Henry caught me. You can't read that, ma'am. Not now. But I could not look away. My brother had won. At least that's how it seemed. Back at the farmhouse, I barely ate. Sleep came heavy, filled with nightmares. The river pulled me under. My brother's smile pushed me deeper. Henry's wife brought me tea, her hand on my shoulder. You can't stay broken, honey, that's what he wants. But I was broken. I was nothing. No company, no family, no voice. Days blurred into weeks. I stared at the ceiling. The clock ticked loud, each second a reminder that the world believed I no longer existed. One night in May, I walked out onto the porch. The air was thick. Frogs croaked by the creek. A train horn echoed from 5 miles away. I closed my eyes. This is the bottom, I whispered. This is what it feels like to lose everything. For the first time, I thought about surrender, letting him keep it all, letting the world believe his story, vanishing quietly. But deep inside, a spark refused to die. My parents had not worked themselves raw for him to steal it. My life was not just a headline. I wrapped the blanket tighter, looked at the dark horizon, and promised myself one thing. I might be at the bottom now, but I would not stay here. Not forever. June settled heavy over the Ohio Valley. The air thick, the nights restless, the days too long. I moved slow like a shadow inside Henry's farmhouse. Most mornings I sat by the kitchen window watching tractors crawl across the cornfields. Life had shrunk to the size of that farm. I no longer had a boardroom, a staff, or even a name. One morning, Henry brought in the mail. He tossed a small stack on the table. Nothing but bills, he said, wiping sweat from his forehead. But in the pile was a plain envelope. No return address. My name scribbled faintly in blue ink. Not the name of a dead woman. My real name. My hands shook as I tore it open. Inside a single note. I know what he did. Meet me at the old train depot, Sunday at midnight. No signature, no clue, just a place and time. I read it twice. 3 times. Could it be a trap? Could he know I survived? Henry leaned close. What is it? I showed him. His eyes narrowed. Sounds risky, but sounds real. That Sunday, we drove 6 miles into town. The old depot stood rusted and hollow, graffiti on brick walls, weeds pushing through cracks. I pulled my hood tight. The night air smelled of oil and rain. A single bulb flickered overhead. Then footsteps. A figure approached. Slim, nervous. When the light caught her face, my breath stopped. Kelly, I whispered. She had worked as my assistant for nearly 10 years. Loyal, steady, the kind of woman who never missed a detail. She grabbed my hands. Oh, thank God, I thought you were gone. Her eyes filled. I kept my mouth shut at the memorial, but I knew something was wrong. She pulled a flash drive from her pocket. Everything's on here. Emails, recordings, contracts he forged. I copied them before he locked me out. My heart raced. You have proof. She nodded hard. I risked everything, but I couldn't watch him destroy your name. Tears stung my eyes. For weeks, I had lived like a ghost. Now, for the first time, I felt human again. Back at Henry's, we plugged the drive into his old laptop. File after file filled the screen. Emails showing my brother directing staff to falsify records. Audio of him bragging to a partner. Even spreadsheets with forged signatures. My signature. Every lie in black and white. Henry whistled low. Lord Almighty, this is enough to bury him. I leaned forward. No, this is enough to bring me back. That night, I lay awake in the farmhouse guest bed. The window opened, the crickets loud. The flash drive clutched to my chest. For weeks I had felt erased. Now in the dark I felt the spark again, small but alive. My brother thought I was gone. The board believed his story. The world wrote me off. But I was here. I had proof. And I had something stronger. A reason to fight. Mom's words echoed in my head. Baby truth don't hide forever. I whispered to the ceiling, I'm coming back. The flash drive changed everything. For weeks I had lived like a ghost. Now suddenly I had proof. But proof alone was not enough. I needed allies, I needed strategy, and I needed someone who could face my brother in court. That someone was a lawyer. Kelly suggested a name, David Collins. Remember him? He worked on your father's estate. Honest, smart. Never liked your brother. The name stirred a faint memory. A tall man, salt and pepper hair, a sharp mind, and calm voice. The next night, Henry drove us 20 miles east to a quiet diner off the interstate. Dim lights, coffee mugs clinking, a jukebox humming in the corner. David sat alone at a booth. When he saw me, his eyes widened. My God, they said you drowned. I slid into the booth. I nearly did. My brother tried to kill me. And now he's stolen everything. David leaned forward. Do you have evidence? I handed him the flash drive. He plugged it into his laptop. As the files opened, his face hardened. This is damning. Emails, forged contracts, audio recordings. If this holds up, he's finished. Kelly whispered. But he controls the board. He controls the narrative. How do we fight that? David tapped the screen. Piece by piece. We gather more. We build a case so strong the court can't ignore it. Over the next weeks, we worked in secret. Kelly reached out to former colleagues. Some hung up. Others refused to meet. Fear kept them silent. But a few passed quiet tips. Dates, documents, whispers of shady deals buried in company ledgers. Henry drove me back roads and alleys, avoiding the main streets. We met sources in parking lots, at diners, and empty church basements. Every night, we added more files to David's folder. Bank transfers, emails, private memos, each one a brick in the wall of truth. But with every step, the danger grew. One evening, a black SUV followed us for 10 miles, headlights steady in the rear view, my chest clenched tight. Finally, Henry swerved into a gas station. The SUV slowed, then sped past. David said quietly, he knows. He suspects you're alive. The words chilled me. I slept little after that. Every creak in the farmhouse sounded like footsteps. Every car on the gravel road felt like a threat. But fear could not stop me. I had lost too much to turn back now. By July, David had built a binder thick as bricks, enough to file, he said. But one thing is missing, the smoking gun, a signature, a tape, something undeniable. That night, Kelly called breathless. I think I have it. Remember the board meeting last December, the one you missed because he sent you to that fake investor dinner? I nodded slowly, yes. I found the recording. He forgot the camera's auto-save to the server. It's buried deep, but I pulled it. You need to see this. The next morning, we huddled around Henry's old laptop. Kelly pressed play. The screen flickered. There he was, my brother. His voice smooth, confident, a glass of whiskey in his hand. The old woman's done. By spring, she'll be out of the picture. The board is mine. The fortune is mine. My blood ran cold. Kelly hit pause. David whispered, this is it. The nail in his coffin. I sat frozen. For months I had felt powerless. Now in this grainy video I saw my brother's mask fall. The boy I raised was gone. What remained was greed. Pure and sharp. David closed the laptop. We move soon. File the case. Present the evidence. But until then you stay hidden. If he learns you live, he won't hesitate again. I nodded, clutching the flash drive. Fear still gnawed at me. But alongside it, for the first time, came fire. The storm was coming. And this time I would be ready. By August, the folder was thick. Emails, contracts, the recording. David said this is enough to shake him. But shaking him was not the same as beating him. Because my brother was not sitting idle. That week, a story hit the news. Documents reveal sister's addiction. Board struggled to save company. My photo again, grainy, unflattering. Headlines painting me as a pill-popping recluse. Kelly slammed the paper on the diner table. This is all fake. He's planting this. David sighed, and the public eats it up. My chest burned. I wanted to shout, to storm into a newsroom and tell them the truth. But if I revealed myself now, he would strike again. We needed patience. Patience was heavy. It tasted like ash. Then came the letter, delivered to Henry's mailbox, a thick envelope typed clean, inside a court order. Notice of competency hearing. Petitioner, my brother's name. Respondent, my name. The paper shook in my hands. He's still pushing this, even when I'm supposed to be dead. David nodded grimly. It's a tactic. If the court declares you incompetent, he locks everything. Even if you come back, you'll be branded unstable. I whispered, so he plans to bury me alive and dead. The next night we met at David's office. Files stacked high, coffee gone cold, Kelly pacing her phone, buzzing nonstop. Suddenly the lights flickered. Outside, tires screeched. We froze. David peered through the blinds. A black SUV idled across the street. Same one from before. Same tinted windows. Stay down, he hissed. We killed the lights, waited in silence. The SUV sat for 10 long minutes, then rolled away slow. Henry muttered, "He knows you're alive. It's only a matter of time." That night I barely slept. Every creak of the house sounded like footsteps. Every bark of the dog felt like warning. The next morning, the threats went digital. An email sent to David's account. No sender, no trace. Stop digging or she disappears again, this time for good. My stomach twisted. I read it twice, 3 times. It felt like cold steel against my neck. David closed his laptop. We push forward anyway. Fear is what he wants. Evidence is what we have. We doubled down. Kelly dug deeper into archived servers. Henry checked the roads, every night rifle propped by the door. I studied the binder, every page, every lie, every dollar he stole. The more I read, the more anger grew like fire in my chest. But fire burns both ways. Because the next week he struck again. A video surfaced online. Grainy footage of me screaming in an office. My voice twisted, my face pale. Headlines blared, Sister's breakdown, proof of instability. I recognized the clothes, the office. But the tape was doctored. A mash of clips spliced together to make me look insane. Kelly cursed. This is deep fake garbage. But the damage spread fast. Shares dipped. Investors panicked. My brother stood smiling in interviews. The company is stable. My sister sadly struggled. It felt like drowning again, only this time on dry land. One night, Henry found me on the porch, staring at the fields, tears streaking my face. I can't win this. He controls the story. He controls everything. Henry's hand was rough on my shoulder. You're still here. That means something. The dead can't fight, but you can. His words lit a spark again. By September, David said it's time. We file. We force the court to hear the truth. Kelly slid over the final evidence, the boardroom recording, the smoking gun. David's eyes shone. This is our weapon, but be ready. Once we move, he will hit harder. And hit harder he did. The night before, filing a rock smashed through Henry's window. Glass showered the floor, a note tied to the stone. Last warning, stop or bleed. Henry's wife screamed. I pulled her close. My hands shook, but my jaw set firm. I picked up the note, held it to the light, and whispered, no, not this time, because fear might follow me, but fire was stronger now. Tomorrow the papers would be filed, and the war would begin in daylight. October came fast. Leaves burned red and gold. The courthouse loomed on Main Street, its stone walls older than memory. Inside, the air smelled of polish. Benches creaked. Reporters shuffled papers. Cameras clicked outside. I walked in quietly, head high. For months, the world believed I was gone. Now I stood in front of them all. Gasps filled the room. Whispers flew. Is that her? She's alive? How? My brother turned. For a split second, his face froze. Then he smiled smooth as oil. Sis, back from the grave. My heart pounded, but I didn't flinch. I took my seat beside David. Kelly behind us, hands shaking but eyes steady. Henry leaned against the wall, silent strength. The judge entered. All rise. We rose. My knees wobbled. The gavel cracked. Case of competency and fraud now in session. My brother's lawyer stood first. A young man, expensive suit, slick hair. Your Honor, the respondent suffers from severe decline. We will present proof of instability, paranoia, and financial recklessness. He gestured at me, his voice cold. She is not fit to manage a lemonade stand, let alone a $2.7 billion estate. The crowd laughed. Heat rose in my chest. I clenched my hands under the table. David rose slow. Your Honor, we will show evidence of deliberate fraud. We will show that the petitioner not only fabricated lies, but attempted murder. Gasps again. The judge's brow furrowed. Proceed. The morning dragged. My brother's side presented emails, videos, testimony, doctored, twisted, clips of me edited to look unstable. Each lie cut deep, each word stabbed at my name. By noon, I felt drained. The weight of the room pressed heavy. I wondered if anyone would believe me. Then David stood. Defense calls Kelly Myers. Kelly walked forward. Her heels clicked loud. She swore on the Bible. Her voice shook at first, then grew steady. I worked for her 10 years. She was sharp, fair, honest. I saw documents forged. I saw orders come straight from her brother. She pulled out printed emails, projected on the screen. The room gasped. His signature, his words, clear as day. My brother shifted, his jaw tight, but he kept that smug smile. David's voice boomed. And now, Your Honor, we present video evidence. The screen flickered. My brother appeared, whiskey in hand, his voice clear. The old woman's done. By spring, she'll be out of the picture. The board is mine. The fortune is mine. The room exploded. Reporters scribbled fast. Gasps, shouts, murmurs flooding the benches. The judge banged the gavel. Order, order in this court. I looked at my brother. For the first time, the smile slipped. His eyes darted, sweat on his brow. But David wasn't done. Your Honor, we also have financial records. Millions shifted into hidden accounts, shell companies, false names, all traced back to him. The judge leaned forward. Submit to the record. My brother's lawyer stammered. Objection! This is fabricated. David turned his voice calm. Then let the jury decide. The judge nodded. Proceed tomorrow. Court adjourned. The gavel cracked. People rose, voices buzzing like bees. Reporters rushed the aisle. Cameras flashed. I stood slow, my knees weak. But inside a fire burned. For months I had been buried. Tonight the world had seen a piece of truth. Outside the courthouse, the sky glowed purple. Crowds shouted questions. Where have you been? Did he really try to kill you? Will you take the stand? I said nothing, just walked past head high toward Henry's truck. Behind me, I felt my brother's eyes, dark, piercing. This was not over. Not yet. The courthouse buzzed the next morning. Reporters packed the steps. Cameras flashed as I walked inside. Inside, the air was heavy, like thunder before a storm. Every seat filled, every eye locked on us. The judge entered. All rise, the gavel cracked. Court is now in session. David stood first. Your Honor, we call our next witness, Mr. Robert Hensley. Gasps rippled. Robert had worked in finance for years, known as loyal to my brother. I swallowed hard. Why call him? He took the stand, raised his right hand, swore the oath. At first his eyes avoided mine. Then he spoke. For months I followed his orders. I moved funds, hid transfers, signed false reports. I told myself it was just business, but it wasn't. It was fraud. My heart jolted. The room erupted. Reporters scribbled furiously. My brother's face flushed crimson. His lawyer jumped up. Objection. The judge raised a hand. Overruled. Continue. Robert's voice shook, but he pressed on. He told us she was unfit, that she was losing her mind. But I knew better. She was sharp. She was steady. It was him. Always him. He pulled a folder from his jacket. Copies of bank slips, dates, amounts all traced back. Every dollar he stole I recorded. This is my record, and I will testify to every line. The crowd gasped again. The judge leaned forward. Submit to the record. For the first time, I saw fear in my brother's eyes. David stood tall. Your Honor, there is more. A final piece. He held up an old leather folder. The original will of Mr. James Carter, my father's name. My breath caught. David opened it slowly, read aloud. In the event that any child should act in betrayal against their mother or their sibling, that child shall forfeit all rights to the estate. The words echoed, loud, sharp, final. Gasps swept the room. Reporters rose to capture every word. The judge's face hardened. This clause is binding. It leaves no room for interpretation. My brother jumped up. That will is outdated. It has no power. David's voice cut sharp. It is signed. It is notarized. It is the final amendment made by your father. It stands. Silence. Heavy. Crushing. My brother's jaw clenched. His hands fisted, but his eyes betrayed panic. For months he painted me as unstable. For months he hid behind lies. Now the lies were unraveling. I turned my head, met his eyes, and for the first time he looked away. The judge banged the gavel. This court will reconvene tomorrow for closing arguments. Until then, all evidence stands admitted. The room buzzed. Reporters rushed out. Flashbulbs exploded. Questions flew. But I sat still, breath heavy, heart pounding. The truth was out. The clause was clear. The boardroom recording the bank records the witnesses. Everything aligned. And yet I knew him. I knew he would not go down quietly. Tomorrow would decide it all. Betrayal grows bold when it thinks it is hidden. But truth waits, and when revealed, it strikes like lightning. Hope becomes real when justice finally rises. Subscribe to our channel to see the final chapter as the verdict brings this family battle to its end. The last morning was cold and clear. Downtown streets buzzed with reporters and cameras. Every headline spoke of the trial. Inside the courthouse, I sat tall, David beside me, Kelly just behind, Henry watching, close arms crossed. My brother walked in, smug smile gone. He looked smaller, paler, like the fight had drained him. All rise, the judge entered. Gavel cracked sharp. This court will deliver its verdict. The room fell silent. Reporters leaned forward, pens ready, hearts beating fast. The judge spoke slowly. We have reviewed the evidence presented. We have weighed the testimony of witnesses. This court finds that fraud was committed. This court finds that an attempt was made to eliminate a rightful heir. Gasps filled the air. I gripped the table, breath tight. The judge continued. Per the final amendment of Mr. James Carter's will, any child who betrays their mother or sibling forfeits all rights to the estate. Therefore, the petitioner is stripped of inheritance. All control returns to the respondent. My heart stopped, then started again, hard and fast. Tears burned my eyes. Kelly squeezed my shoulder. David nodded once, a quiet smile. The judge turned cold. Furthermore, the petitioner will face criminal charges of fraud and attempted murder. Bail is denied. Sheriffs take him. 2 deputies stepped forward. Handcuffs clicked shut. For the first time, my brother's eyes met mine. No charm, no smile, just hollow regret. They let him out. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed wild. I stayed seated, hands trembling, heart steady. It was over. Truly over. Later that day, I walked out onto Main Street. The sun warmed my face. The courthouse clock struck noon. Crowds parted. Some clapped. Some cried. I breathed deep. For months, I had lived like a ghost. Now I was alive again. Back at Henry's farm, his wife set pie on the table. Kelly laughed softly. David raised a glass. To truth, he said. We clinked glasses. Apple cider fizzed. For the first time in a long time, I felt peace. No more hiding. No more lies. Only quiet. Only home. In the weeks that followed, I returned to the company, not as the same woman who left, but stronger, calmer, wiser. I walked the halls. Employees whispered, then smiled. Some hugged me. Others apologized. I forgave them. They had been lied to, just like me. The board reinstated me. The company shifted. Transparency, accountability, a new beginning. Sometimes at night I sat on my porch, the Ohio air cool, the stars bright. I thought of my brother, locked away, facing years behind bars. It hurt still. because he was blood, because once we were children sharing peanut butter sandwiches under summer skies. But choices matter, and his choices led him there. As for me, I was free, alive, ready for whatever came next. And I thought quietly to myself and to anyone who might listen, what is worth more money or family? What would you choose if both stood in front of you? Sometimes the deepest cuts come from family, but justice has a way of finding its mark. Even after storms, peace can return. Share your thoughts below and hit subscribe to hear more stories of family truth and the fight for justice.